As a husband who has experienced the bitter sting of a woman cheated, I am compelled to share my story. Infidelity is a devastating betrayal that can shatter even the strongest of relationships. In my case, it was my own wife who succumbed to temptation and strayed from our marriage. The pain of betrayal runs deep, and the wounds it leaves behind may never fully heal. Our love story began like a scene from a favorite romantic movie, full of promise and endless possibilities. I was smitten with Emily from the moment I saw her. Her laughter was a melody, and her eyes sparkled with an energy that drew me in. We built our life on shared dreams and laughter, believing that our love was strong enough to conquer anything life threw our way. However, as the years passed, the fairy tale started to reveal its cracks. Emily's once vibrant laughter seemed to dim, and the spark in her eyes flickered. I attributed this change to the stresses of life, believing we could overcome them together, as we always had. But I was blind to the storm that was brewing on the horizon, a storm named Sarah. Sarah entered our lives under the guise of friendship. She was everything Emily seemed to be missing at the time, vivacious, adventurous, and, as I would later come to realize, dangerously manipulative. Their friendship blossomed rapidly, and I was supportive at first, happy that Emily had found someone who brought a new light into her life. However, that light soon turned into an engulfing flame that threatened to consume everything we had built. The subtle signs of betrayal began to emerge, but I dismissed them as nothing more than paranoid thoughts. Late-night whispers, shared glances that lingered a fraction too long, and an intimacy between them that seemed to cross the boundaries of friendship. My trust in Emily made me overlook these warning signs, a trust that would eventually be shattered. The night that changed everything still plays in my mind with vivid clarity. Coming home early, I stumbled upon them in a moment that was both intensely private and heartbreakingly public. The air was charged with a tension that spoke of forbidden desires finally given into, a scene that both repelled and captivated me. Emily's betrayal wasn't just a physical act. It was the emotional abandonment that cut the deepest. The woman I thought I knew had become a stranger, her actions driven by a cruelty and selfishness that I had never seen before. Sarah's role in our downfall was clear, a temptress who delighted in the pain she helped orchestrate, her mean-spirited nature hidden behind a facade of friendship. In that moment, the beginning of us became the beginning of the end, a once beautiful love story tainted by betrayal and heartbreak. The day Emily introduced Sarah into our lives marked the beginning of an unforeseen chapter, one that would ultimately tear the very fabric of our marriage apart. Their meeting seemed innocuous at first, a casual friendship sparked at a company retreat, or so I was told. As days melted into weeks, Sarah's presence became a constant feature in our lives. Dinners, weekend outings, even lazy afternoons that were once sacred to Emily and me were now shared with her. I was supportive, believing in the importance of friendship, not realizing the serpent that had slithered into our garden. Sarah was, for lack of a better term, a force of nature, charismatic yet chillingly calculated. She possessed an allure that was undeniable, and her influence on Emily was palpable. First watched naively at first as their bond deepened, telling myself that Emily's happiness was paramount. Yet beneath Sarah's magnetic veneer lurked a cunning that I had failed to recognize until it was too late. The transformation in Emily was gradual but undeniable. Laughter once shared between us became secretive giggles, exchanged with glances that were too intimate, too charged with an energy that left me feeling like an outsider in my own marriage. Their connection burgeoned into something more, something sinister, under the guise of friendship. Sarah, with her manipulative grace, had woven her way into the very heart of our relationship, planting seeds of deceit with a skilled hand. The betrayal unfolded under the veil of night, their figures silhouetted by the soft glow of the living room lamp, so entwined, so lost in each other that my arrival went unnoticed. The scene before me was one of heartbreak, a silent movie playing the end of my marriage in excruciating detail. The air was thick with the scent of betrayal, a tangible reminder of the web of lies that had been spun around me. In that moment, Sarah's true nature was unveiled, not just a friend, but a temptress who had reveled in the dismantling of our love. She stood there, an emblem of our ruin, her intentions laid bare. Emily, under her spell, had become a stranger to me, our vows forgotten in the shadow of this deceit. It was a tableau of heartbreak, a cruel testament to the fragility of trust and the sting of infidelity, masterminded by a woman who found pleasure in the pain she inflicted. The air between us began to shift, subtle at first, like the quiet before a storm. Emily's behavior morphed in ways that left me grappling for understanding. There were whispered phone calls that hushed the moment I entered a room, her excuses dancing on the edge of believability. Late nights out with Sarah became a new norm, each explanation more threadbare than the last. I tried to quell the growing unease in my gut, clinging to the trust that had always been the bedrock of our marriage. Yet the distance between us grew, an invisible chasm filled with secrets and lies. It was the glances exchanged between Emily and Sarah that first hinted at something more than friendship, fleeting looks charged with an intimacy that made my heart stutter. Their laughter, once a melody that filled our home, now sounded like a discordant note, excluding me from a private joke. The warmth we shared began to cool, replaced by an aloofness from Emily that felt as if she was retreating further from me with each passing day. The realization of their betrayal crept upon me slowly, a gathering storm that broke with ferocity the night I found them together. The scene was bathed in the soft glow of the moon, shadows playing across the walls of our living room. Their closeness spoke of a forbidden desire, a moment stolen in the quiet of the night. It was a tableau of betrayal, a bitter testament to the fragility of trust. The intimacy between them was palpable, a silent whisper of infidelity that left me reeling. Sarah, with her calculating eyes and smirk that seemed to mock my pain, stood as the architect of our ruin. Her manipulation had sown the seeds of betrayal, her presence an unwelcome specter in our marriage. The realization that Emily had fallen under her spell, betraying not just our vows but the love we once shared, was a knife to the heart. The first signs of betrayal, once overlooked, now painted a vivid picture of deceit, leaving me to navigate the wreckage of a love lost. The air was heavy with anticipation as I turned the key in the lock, the house greeting me with silence, a precursor to the storm I was about to witness. What I expected to be an ordinary night morphed into a pivotal moment in my life, one that would etch itself into my memory with the sharpness of broken glass. Stepping into the living room, the scene before me unfolded like a tragic play, the protagonists lost in their own world. There, entwined in an embrace that spoke of stolen moments and whispered promises, were Emily and Sarah. The intimacy of their connection, a dance of shadows under the soft luminescence of the moonlight filtering through the window, struck a chord of betrayal so deep within me that it momentarily stole my breath. Sarah, with her sly smile and eyes that glinted with a predatory satisfaction, seemed to relish in the pain that her actions would inevitably cause. Her manipulation, now clear as day, painted her as the architect of this deception, reveling in the chaos she had sown in the heart of my marriage. Her cruelty was not just in her actions, but in the glee with which she carried them out, a snake basking in the ruin it had created. Emily, the woman I had pledged my life to, was a far cry from the partner I thought I knew. In her eyes, I saw an ounce of regret, a glimmer of the love we once shared, but found none. The connection between them, charged with a forbidden electricity, made it painfully clear that the woman I loved had been swept away by the tide of infidelity, leaving behind a stranger in her place. In that moment, frozen in the tableau of their betrayal, the foundation of our life together crumbled. The realization that I was witnessing the end of everything we had built was a weight too heavy to bear. The night that changed everything was not just a revelation of infidelity. It was the moment my heart broke, the pieces scattering like leaves in the wind, leaving me to wonder if they could ever be gathered again. My heart pounding, I confronted them, a mix of rage and sorrow swirling within me. The living room, once a sanctuary of love and laughter, became an arena of heartbreak. "Emily, Sarah, how could you?" I demanded, my voice barely concealing the tremor of betrayal. Emily's reaction was as cold as ice, her eyes devoid of the warmth I once knew. She stood with an arrogance that took me aback, her words cutting through me with precision. "You wouldn't understand," she said, her tone dismissive, laced with a cruelty I never thought her capable of. Her indifference to my pain was a stark revelation of the stranger she had become. Sarah, on the other hand, was a picture of guilt, yet her shame did nothing to quell the anger in my heart. Her eyes flickered with remorse, but it was too late. The damage was done. The guilt on her face did not erase the memory of their silhouettes intertwined, a haunting image that would forever be etched in my mind. In that moment of confrontation, there were no heartfelt confessions or pleas for forgiveness. Emily's defensive stance and harsh words revealed the depth of her betrayal, a betrayal that was not just physical but emotional. The intimacy they shared, once sacred between Emily and me, had been corrupted by lies and deceit, their connection a stark contrast to the coldness with which Emily now regarded me. The confession, or lack thereof, left a bitter taste. There was no closure, only the harsh reality of a love lost and a marriage shattered by infidelity. Sarah's silent admission of guilt was a small solace, but it did little to mend the chasm that had opened between Emily and me. The confrontation was a painful yet necessary step towards facing the ruin they had wrought, a first step on a long road to healing and finding peace amidst the wreckage. The unveiling of Emily's infidelity felt like a storm that had been brewing in the darkest clouds, finally breaking over me with merciless force. The aftermath was chaotic, a relentless downpour that left no part of our lives untouched. Our circle of friends, once tightly knit, became a maze of awkward encounters and whispered conversations. I could see the pity in their eyes, a reflection of my shattered world, yet among them, a few reached out with genuine care, attempting to piece me back together. In this turbulent sea of betrayal, Sarah's true colors shone the brightest, or rather the darkest. Her demeanor throughout was one of callous indifference. It became painfully clear that the kindness and warmth she had once feigned were nothing more than a facade. The woman who had infiltrated our lives, weaving herself into the fabric of our marriage with a skilled hand, now reveled in the destruction she had helped cause. The smirks and half-hidden glances she shared with Emily at social gatherings were like salt on an open wound, each one a reminder of the deceit that had unfolded in the shadows of our home. Our family, torn between disbelief and heartache, struggled to navigate the new reality. Conversations around the dinner table, once filled with laughter, now tiptoed around the elephant in the room. Emily's actions, under the manipulative influence of Sarah, had not just broken our marriage, but had rippled through the very essence of our familial bond, leaving a void where trust and security once resided. As for me, the aftermath was a lonely journey through a landscape of ruin. The revelations of that fateful night had stripped away the veneer of my life, revealing the stark truth of betrayal. Yet within this desolation, there was a glimmer of resolve. The path forward was shrouded in uncertainty, but the first steps of healing had begun. The exposure of their infidelity had not been the end, but the beginning of my journey towards reclaiming my life, piece by fragmented piece. In the days that followed the revelation of Emily and Sarah's betrayal, my world became a maze of raw emotions. Anger, sorrow, and a deep sense of loss tangled within me, each moment stretching longer than the last. The pain of knowing my wife, the woman I had shared my deepest dreams with, had chosen another, A woman as cruel-hearted as Sarah over our vows was a constant shadow over my heart. Navigating through this heartbreak was like walking through a dense fog, where every step felt uncertain and heavy. I replayed the moments of their betrayal in my mind, a torturous loop that showcased their intimacy in a light that was both mesmerizing and devastating. The way Sarah's hands whispered secrets across Emily's skin, their silhouettes merging in a dance of shadows against the wall. It was a scene of haunting beauty that underscored the ugliness of their deception. The realization that Sarah took pleasure in weaving this web of deceit, her mean-spirited nature masked by a facade of friendship, only deepened the cut of betrayal. Her actions weren't just a betrayal of trust. They were a deliberate act of cruelty, reveling in the pain they inflicted upon me. As I grappled with the aftermath of their infidelity, I found myself confronting waves of grief that crashed over me without warning. Each wave threatened to pull me under, to drown me in the depths of my despair. Yet, within this sea of heartbreak, I began to discover an inner strength I didn't know I possessed. It was this strength that buoyed me, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the wreckage of my trust and love. Though the path forward was shrouded in pain, it was also paved with the possibility of healing and finding peace within myself. In the aftermath, the path to moving forward felt like navigating through a dark, uncharted forest where each step was a leap of faith, and each breath a reminder of my resolve to heal. Amidst the shadows of betrayal cast by Emily and Sarah's affair, a liaison tinged with a bitter aroma of deception and mean-spirited conquest, I found the courage to seek therapy, a sanctuary where I could lay bare the tangle of my emotions. It was within the confessional silence of that room, the words of my therapist like a lighthouse guiding me through stormy seas, that I began to piece together the shards of my shattered heart. The journey wasn't solitary. Friends who had stood by me as silent sentinels now stepped forward, their support a balm to the raw wounds left in the wake of Sarah's cruel revelry and Emily's cold detachment. They reminded me that I wasn't navigating this tempest alone. In their steadfast presence, I rediscovered the value of genuine connections, a stark contrast to the illusory bonds Sarah had woven with such manipulative precision around Emily and me. Moving forward meant learning to forgive, not for their sake but for my own peace. It was a process, every step forward a victory against the shadows of the past. I focused on rebuilding, not just my trust in others, but in the belief that I deserved happiness beyond the pain of betrayal. The path was lined with lessons in resilience, in the power of letting go, and in the promise of new beginnings, even when forged from the deepest of heartbreaks. Reflecting on the storm of betrayal that swept through my life, I've gleaned hard-won insights that have reshaped my understanding of love, trust, and the arduous path to healing. The revelation of Emily and Sarah's affair, shrouded in whispered intimacies and clandestine encounters, was a stark awakening to the complexities of the human heart. Sarah, with her venomous charm, crafted a narrative of deceit that ensnared Emily, transforming the sanctuary of our marriage into a tableau of betrayal. Her actions, marinated in cruelty and selfish glee, were a painful testament to the depths of mean-spiritedness one can possess. Navigating through this heartache, I learned the crucial importance of forgiveness, not as absolution for their actions, but as a gateway to my own liberation. It was a journey marked by moments of profound sorrow, punctuated by the sharp sting of betrayal that lingered like the faint trace of perfume in an empty room. Yet, amidst this tumult, I discovered resilience, a strength forged in the crucible of pain, allowing me to inch towards a semblance of peace. The lessons learned are etched into the fabric of my being, tales of caution, whispers of hope, and the understanding that from the ashes of despair, one can rise anew. As I tread the path of healing, I carry with me the belief in a future where trust can be rebuilt, and where the heart, though scarred, is open to love once more.